OK, let's then move on to Assemblymember Mohima.
Good morning, Mayor Khan. My question is around the emergency measures that have been introduced. Obviously, we've got a situation where we are in development of the new London plan, and related but not incidental but related is this change from 35 to 20% of new homes being built for a fixed period of time to be social and affordable homes. So I'm just wondering, given that context, how are you going to ensure that those homes are still delivered, and given the emergency measures that have been brought in to kickstart house building in the capital, because obviously we've had a lot of financial and economic pressures really acutely affecting London.
No, Chair, can I thank the member for her question. So we've agreed with the government these temporary emergency measures to try and kickstart house building in London, and we'll see very soon, I suspect, similar measures across the country, because for a variety of reasons, and I've mentioned some of them in answer to the previous question, house building is not where it needs to be. And so these are temporary measures, and developers and councils are required to not just begin construction, but complete construction in quick pace. And if they don't, there's provisions to claw back, but also to change some of the housing to affordable. And the permissions are quite clearly use it or lose it. And so that reassurance I can give her in relation to these additional changes that are being made. But if she's seen the data that I have in terms of starts or lack of, a third of boroughs in our city, a third, didn't have one single start in Q1. That's a big issue. That means more families in temporary accommodation, more families in overcrowded accommodation, more people sleep in rough. Each day, 32 boroughs spend £5 million in temporary accommodation. That can't be right.
Yeah, thank you. And I think many of us will be aware that one of the reasons that boroughs have struggled to instigate starts in the last year or so is developers and housing associations to build is around land values. I had the great pleasure of being in Manchester last Saturday with some Labour colleagues from their combined authority, talking about the challenges and opportunities they face, and they have the same challenges, but in terms of land values, many more opportunities, and thus a slightly easier starting position to build the homes that the government has asked them to contribute to those targets. So with that in mind, given that, what confirmation have you had from developers that homes that wouldn't have been built will now be built? And I know you've mentioned clawbacks, but we don't want to get into a situation where developers are gaming a system which is intended to kickstart works and they might be holding back. I just would like some reassurance that we have it concrete that they are bringing forward schemes that would have not been viable or feasible had this not happened.
I mean, house builders aren't just private developers, they're also councils and housing associations, as she's alluded to as well, but they're facing a perfect storm. I mean, construction costs have gone up by more than 50% in the last few years. Concrete is up by, I think, 43%, steel is up by 50%. That's affecting everyone across the housing sector. Add to that the interest rates, add to that the inability to get construction workers, the shortage there are there. Add to that the poor implementation of building safety regulations. 90% of new homes in London are flats. 61% of flats across the country are in London. That's created the perfect storm. When I'm told that there are 43,000 homes stalled in London, there's a reason for that. And so we have been speaking to developers, speaking to councils, speaking to housing associations, to see what we can do to try and kickstart house building, which is an issue across the country, by the way. It's not just London. And we think this short-term temporary measure will help kickstart housing delivery. But, we're going to wait and see. It is really important to address the underlying causes, but at the same time give some stimulus to the whole sector.
Thank you for that. If I could just, you mentioned leasehold there, and if I could make a cheeky ask to continue to push the government to bring in those changes that are really needed in the capital for leaseholders and shared owners. I know most of the homes that are being built will be flats. It's a very London-specific issue, And we have our report, which thank you very much for your responses to the Housing Committee's leasehold report, but leaseholders are being price gouged, there's no other way to put it, by their freeholders, and it's really difficult to see how the market can pick up if people are concerned about uncapped bills in the future, given the state of people's wage increases and the cost of living.
I mean, she know that I agree with her, you know, in the view that the leasehold system is broken. I think the shared ownership system is challenging as well, and that's why the sooner we move from leasehold to common hold, the sooner we address some of the challenges that she knows when people's dreams of being homeowners has turned to nightmares because of the concerns around ground rent, service charges and so forth. So we are lobbying the government in relation to this issue. We think we've got an open door. The government understands these issues and the government's made great progress reforming the private rental market, and we need the same sort of urgency in terms of the leasehold shared ownership market as well.
Thank you, Mayor Khan.
Assembly Member Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. Many of the points which I've raised have been answered, I think, in the previous answer. So if I may go straight through to supplementaries. Can I just double check? Are we talking about, within this new scheme, completions? Full site completions will be eligible, or is it ones that are made to start on site?
Good question. So it's not starts anymore. So if you're going to qualify for this planning, park for a second the grant, I'll come to that if you want me to. You must not only have got through the system by March 28, but also have completed at least the first floor. It depends on it's a scheme-by-scheme basis, so it can't just be a shovel in the ground. We've got to see meaningful progress made by 2030. Otherwise, either the money comes back if it's grant, or permission can be withdrawn, or there's a clawback system in terms of viability reviews. And so that'll be set up in the consultation that I think is published very soon.
Okay, would that completion of the first floor apply to multi-block properties or of a single block on the site?
That's why I deliberately, I've given a general answer to the question because I wanted to distinguish shovel in the ground, which is or the Horden, which can be a start now, from substantive progress. And so that'll be set up in the consultation, and I'll be keen to hear his views as a council leader about what he would like to see as confirmation that progress has been made. What we don't want is anybody gaming the system. I don't think from the conversation we've had that's the intention of anybody, because developers, frankly speaking, want to make profit, right? They want to, and so it's not in their interest to game the system. But I've been interested in his views as a house builder in this area.
Well, one of the concerns that I have on the Richmond property is Stag Brewery, which you'll be fully aware of, which the planning inspector allowed just 7% to go through, but there is tens of millions of SIL contributions coming to Richmond as a result of that. As a result of this new scheme, they could just add an extra 3% of their own affordable. The Mayor's scheme, as I understand it, will top up to the 20, and we could lose 50% of our SIL coming through to Richmond. And it's schemes like that which are happening across the capital, where councils are going to be losing out on tens of millions of SIL, which really should be going into supporting local communities.
So I don't want to for good reasons. I don't talk about individual schemes for reasons he'll understand. So let me talk generally speaking. So in relation to the SIL levy, there is a proposal that can be reduced to 50% if there's 20% or more affordable housing, and there's conversation between the council and the developer about the sliding scale, about where that goes. We are offering a top-up of grant money. If somebody wants to build more affordable homes and the council thinks they can, to make it viable for them to do so. The concern we have, though, without talking about the individual scheme he mentions, is there are developments where permissions have been granted, they've been started, but they've stalled for the reasons I've set out. It's to try and stimulate those to get going, that these flexibilities are being introduced. What we don't want and can't have is those being gamed, and we'll work with good councils to make sure that doesn't happen, and developers.
Thank you. So just to confirm what we've heard already, so we're looking at a genuinely temporary scheme which will not complete beyond
I want to reassure him that
March
this is an emergency temporary scheme.
Good, and it's going to be on the first floor, but that needs a bit more fleshing out in terms of the detail. Mr Mayor, it would be remiss of me not to say as the council leader that I can't